G'day everyone, my name's Cautious Pancake, and man is there some news on the 7 Days 2.0 release. The Fun Pimps have just put out a status update which has a ton more stuff in it than what I was expecting, so I'm pumped and now I can't wait until it's released. And that's probably the first main talking point. The release date that's currently been advertised is an April 15th experimental release for those that play through Steam, and a full stable release for all platforms in early May. While that's obviously delayed 4 and a bit months from the original Q4 2024 target, we all kind of expect that at this point, but what I didn't expect was how much it sounds like is in it. From this old Road to 1.0 slide that the Fun Pimps rolled out 12 months ago in April 2024, the version 2 Storms Brewing update had these few dot points in it, which were pretty ambiguous and hard to guess at what the detail was going to look like, but today we've got a little more on that, so let's jump in. Starting with the weather and biome progression system. Currently in 1.3 it's a bit of a mess, as the armor system gives enough protection for all biomes with the one set. This was obviously a placeholder to get us through to 2.0, where it now sounds like it's not just going to be clothing that we need. Each biome sounds like it's going to have an individual characteristic and threat, and I expect that this will tie in nicely with the trader and biome progression system that they've set up from 1.0. From forest to burned, desert, snow, and through to wasteland. It sounds like from this change, the burned biome will add a smoke hazard, desert will add heat, snow cold, and wasteland will add radiation, and all of them we will have to tackle and mitigate in some way. To help us survive, we'll be able to craft new consumables to offset the hazards, as well as completing challenges to unlock a permanent immunity. I think that's a nice little way to allow for progression, but also make it easy to cross back into an older biome without having to worry about the mitigating consumables. So you'll only need to carry the current biome consumables. Otherwise, by the time you hit the wasteland, you'd need an extra backpack just for all of them. The loot caps are interesting. I understand why they've done this, to try and encourage you to move on from the forest and every subsequent biome in search of better weapons and ammo. What I'm not sure on is what they mean by progressive. If that means that the loot cap just increases for each biome, then it might work in a way that the forest will always be capped to only drop, say, primitive gear, and that then worries me a little bit, since it means it takes out game stage to a degree, and you'll not be able to progress without moving on through the biomes. If on the other hand the loot cap for each biome has a base level, but also increases still with game stage up to say a certain point, then that's better, but it will also rule out some playstyles where the maps might want to be set to just one type of terrain. However, the very next point on the release update mentions that the game options will be available for classic and custom playstyles. To me, that means that the Fun Peeps already know this one might be a little controversial, so you can turn it off from the sound of it if you don't like it. We also get a new HUD. I'm not quite sure how that relates to biome progression, but it's in here, so let's talk about it. It'll be good, I guess. I'm not one of those players that's desperately interested in new HUD. It is a bit old, it is a bit dated, but it's not one of those changes that I've been especially waiting for, so I'll take this one, but we'll see how it goes. The new zombie type of a plague spitter for the desert sounds pretty cool to me though. Maybe a half cop, half spider type zombie, but who knows, I'm looking forward to finding out, and hoping that there'll be other similar new zombies for the other biomes. The next major part of the update is around perks, and I'm really keen to see the next level of detail on this one. I'm sure we've all currently got our preferred perks builds and setups, but with a new general tab coming in, which I expect to host the items that you pretty much always take on every playthrough, I'm hoping this brings out the possibility of better or perhaps more interesting choices as we play through. I expect it will still be somewhat tied to weapon selection, but it will be interesting to see what they've done here. Maybe things like vehicles move out of intellect and into general, so you don't always have to take some intellect to be able to have a vehicle, which is something that nearly everyone wants for their playthrough. There's going to be 10 perks per attribute, and I expect the same 5 attributes for perception, strength, fortitude, agility, and intellect. There's also a new mastery perk that will probably be used to improve the weapon or general buff of the selected attribute. The part that's also interesting here is the sledgehammer change, which is getting its own book series. This will hopefully give it a bit of a buff since it's currently the worst weapon in the game, but the part that confuses me still a little bit here is whether or not both sledge and clubs will still be in the strength tree still, which might, with the buff to sledgehammers, unbalance the new setup a little bit and continue to make strength one of the strongest attributes. But maybe it'll be okay, we'll have to see. Overall, I see this as a well-intentioned change that should be good, but proof will be in the balance, and given that this could be a relatively large overhaul, it risks unbalancing things further than they are now, but sometimes that is the price of progress. Something else that I'm pretty excited about is that there's going to be 2 new tiers of zombies. So after the normal, feral and radiated tiers, we'll now have charged and infernal zombies to deal with. And while I hope that the charged ones are blue and look kinda like Dr. Manhattan, I expect that they'll just be reskinned rads with different colour glows. Which, to be fair, this late in development is a completely acceptable approach. And while I am pretty excited for these, my only fear is that they are massive bullet sponges. But that's a fear not based on anything, since we don't have any info yet on how they'll work. What will also be interesting is how things like the rad remover mod works with the new zombie tiers. Will there be a charge remover and an infernal remover mod as well? Or maybe the rad remover works for all 3, but doesn't completely remove health regen on the higher tiers zombies? Or maybe the remover mod has 3 different tiers for radiated, charged and infernal. Who knows? It'll be interesting to find out though, whatever the case may be. And speaking of zombie changes, there's one new zombie called the hit that subscribe button zombie. No wait, sorry. The other change for zombies is giving them the capability to spawn and crawl out of small 1 cube high spaces. Currently zombies won't crawl through a 1 block high space unless they're forced and squished through by other zombies behind them, but allowing this now will be an interesting change both for POIs and how the zombies interact there, but also for how it might affect horde-based design, which is always a topic due to my inner pancake. Beyond that, there's a bunch of other littler changes, so let's run through them real quick. Navigator has been updated to utilize the new biome progression, which might actually be enough to make me go back and play it one day. It's been years since I did a Navigator run. Trees and foliage get a makeover, particularly in the burnt and wasteland biomes, which would be nice. Just like in 1.0, there'll be a bunch of new POIs to play with, including new wilderness POIs and remnants, which is always awesome. Variety is the spice of life when it comes to POIs. There's some new improved audio, which is nice to hear. There's also the promised cosmetic options for outfits, which will allow us to wear one set of armor and make it look like another. Hopefully that also means that it'll be easy to swap armor sets, but they don't really talk about that wardrobe system in the announcement yet. They also mentioned DLC and Twitch drops, which is nice. I've not got an issue with cosmetic DLC at all. When developers continually add new features to a game over the length of time that the Fun Pimps have, they've got my support to add fun, silly, themed, whatever outfits that we can buy that doesn't impact the gameplay. That's the best outcome, I think, for everyone. There's better random gen maps for wilderness POIs and roads in particular, new quest markers for each quest type, new spawning near friends in multiplayer, and finally, crossplay that may or may not be available, but it sounds like it should be there, just depends on passing certification. So wow, that's a lot more content than I was expecting. The new biomes and hazards sound really interesting. The new charged and infernal zombies also sound awesome, so long as they don't chew through bullets like bid meets food at an all-you-can-eat buffet. But that's just my opinion anyway. What do you guys think? Does this deliver on the Storm's Brewing promise for 2.0, or are you disappointed in some of the features? Let me know in the comments what you think, and I look forward to finding out with you in April. Massive thanks to my supporters on Patreon. Thanks as always to you for watching this video, and I look forward to discussing 2.0 with you more soon.